Jack Thornton watched the alien ships descend upon New Britannia with a steely resolve. The Drakthar fleet, with its sleek, ominous vessels, unleashed a barrage of energy beams that tore through the colony's defenses. The sky was a chaotic dance of lights and explosions, each impact sending tremors through the ground. Amidst the turmoil, Jack's gaze remained fixed on the colony's last hope, the ancient giant gun. Jack, a seasoned space marine with a keen strategic mind, had been reassigned to New Britannia against his wishes. He had felt it was a waste of his skills, but now, as the Drakthar pressed their attack, he realized the significance of his presence. The gun, a relic from an earlier war, stood dormant and neglected. Most saw it as an outdated piece of junk, but Jack saw potential. Gathering his team, Jack quickly outlined his plan. Sarah, the brilliant yet cynical engineer, looked skeptical. "Are you serious, Jack? That thing hasn't been used in decades. We don't even know if it works." "That's why we have to try," Jack replied, his voice firm. "We don't have any other options. If we can get it operational, it might just give us the edge we need." Mike, a tough and loyal Marine, nodded in agreement. "I'm with you, Jack. Let's get this beast back in the game." Dr. Patel, a scientist with deep knowledge of the gun's ancient technology, chimed in. "I've been studying the schematics. If we can integrate some of our newer tech, we might be able to amplify its power." The team moved swiftly. They faced numerous technical challenges, each one a potential setback. Sarah's expertise proved invaluable as she navigated the labyrinth of outdated circuits and components, often having to improvise with what little resources they had. Meanwhile, the Drakthar continued their relentless assault. Alien ships strafed the colony, their weapons reducing buildings to rubble. Jack coordinated defensive maneuvers, trying to buy time for his team. Each moment felt like an eternity, the weight of their task pressing heavily on everyone's shoulders. Finally, after hours of intense labor, the gun roared to life. Its systems hummed with a newfound energy, a testament to the team's determination and ingenuity. The first shot fired was a spectacle, a massive energy blast that streaked across the sky and struck a Drakthar battleship, reducing it to fragments. The colony's defenders cheered, a moment of relief and renewed hope spreading through the ranks. But the battle was far from over. The Drakthar, shocked by the sudden reactivation of the gun, regrouped and intensified their efforts. Jack's team, now facing both external and internal threats, discovered a Drakthar spy among the colonists. The spy had been sabotaging their efforts, and his capture added a layer of mistrust and urgency to their mission. Sarah worked tirelessly to counteract the sabotage, her hands a blur of motion as she reconnected wires and bypassed damaged circuits. "We've got this, Jack. Just keep them off our backs a little longer." Jack nodded, his focus unbroken. He directed the gun's fire with precision, each shot a strategic move designed to cripple the Drakthar forces. The tide of battle seemed to shift, the once overwhelming alien force now on the defensive. Just as they began to believe victory was within reach, sensors detected a massive ship entering the fray. The Drakthar supercarrier, an enormous vessel bristling with weapons, loomed on the horizon. It launched wave after wave of fighters, and its bombardment cannons threatened to obliterate the colony. Jack's heart sank as he realized the enormity of the challenge before them. Yet, in the face of such overwhelming power, he stood firm. "We're not done yet. We've come this far, and we'll see it through." As the chapter drew to a close, Jack's team braced for the supercarrier's assault. Their efforts had bought them precious time, but the battle was far from over. The stakes were higher than ever, and the survival of New Britannia hinged on their next moves. Jack Thornton's eyes darted across the battlefield, absorbing the grim scene. The Drakthar assault was relentless, their advanced ships weaving through the colony's defensive fire. The sky was a cacophony of explosions and streaking energy beams. Yet, amidst the destruction, the giant gun stood firm, its once dormant systems now brimming with power. Sarah was at the console, fingers dancing over the controls. "Jack, the gun's capacitor is charged and ready," she called out. Her voice carried a mix of urgency and determination, reflecting the high stakes of their mission. Jack acknowledged her with a nod. Let's see what this old beast can do. He gave the order and the gun fired. A colossal beam of energy shot forth, striking a Drakthar battleship with pinpoint accuracy. The ship disintegrated in a spectacular display, sending shockwaves through the enemy fleet. For a brief moment, the colony's defenders cheered. Their morale lifted, but Jack knew this was merely a reprieve. The Drakthar would not retreat so easily. Their supercarrier loomed ominously in the distance, preparing to unleash its full arsenal. Jack's earpiece crackled. It was Mike, stationed at the outer perimeter. Jack, we've got incoming ground forces. They're trying to breach our defenses from multiple points. Jack's mind raced. All right, hold them off as long as you can. We need more time. He turned to Dr. Patel, who was hunched over a terminal, scanning ancient schematics. Doctor, we need that new feature operational now. Whatever it is, it might be our only chance. Dr. Patel's eyes widened as he deciphered the diagrams. It's a secondary energy amplification system. If we activate it, the gun's power could be doubled, but it's risky. The system hasn't been tested in centuries. We don't have a choice, Jack replied. Get it online. As the team worked against the clock, Jack coordinated the colony's defenses. The Drakthar ground troops were advancing, their movements precise and calculated. Mike and his Marines fought valiantly, holding the line with grit and resourcefulness. Sarah, meanwhile, was deep in the gun's maintenance bay, rewiring circuits and bypassing outdated components. Jack, I need another 5 minutes, she shouted over the comms. Make it 3, Jack responded, his voice steely. He knew time was not on their side. A sudden explosion rocked the command center, throwing Jack off balance. He regained his footing and saw the source of the blast. A Drakthar infiltrator had breached their defenses. The alien, armed and dangerous, was making its way toward the control panel. Jack drew his sidearm and engaged the intruder. The two exchanged fire, the alien's advanced weaponry against Jack's well-honed skills. The fight was brutal and swift. Jack managed to disable the infiltrator, but not before sustaining a glancing wound to his arm. Status report, Jack barked, ignoring the pain. Sarah's voice crackled through the comms. We're almost there. Just a few more adjustments. Dr. Patel chimed in. Amplification system is online, ready to channel the additional power. Jack took a deep breath. Do it. The giant gun roared to life once more, its energy output now amplified. The next shot was even more powerful, tearing through the Drakthar ranks with devastating efficiency. Ships exploded, and ground forces were decimated. The tide of the battle began to shift. But then, the supercarrier launched its counterattack. A barrage of energy beams and projectiles rained down on the colony. Jack's heart pounded as he realized the magnitude of the threat. He needed to think fast. Focus fire on the supercarrier's weapon systems, Jack ordered. We need to disable it before it can do more damage. The team worked in unison, targeting the supercarrier with precision. The gun fired repeatedly, each shot a calculated strike. The supercarrier's shields flickered, and its weapons began to falter. Yet, the massive ship was not defeated. Just as hope seemed to wane, Dr. Patel discovered a potential weakness in the supercarrier's design. Jack, there's a flaw in their energy core. If we can hit it directly, we might cause a chain reaction. Jack seized on the idea. All right, everyone. This is it. We hit that core and we end this. The gun's final shot was a testament to human ingenuity and courage. The beam struck the supercarrier's core, and for a moment, everything was still. Then, the ship erupted in a cataclysmic explosion, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. The Drakthar forces began to retreat, their morale shattered by the loss of their flagship. The colonists cheered, their victory hard-fought and dearly earned. Jack allowed himself a moment of relief but knew there was much to be done. As the dust settled, he turned to his team. Great work, everyone. We held the line, but this isn't over. We need to prepare for whatever comes next. The Drakthar supercarrier, now severely damaged, still posed a formidable threat to New Britannia. Its hulking mass, cloaked in smoke and fire, continued to unleash waves of drones and fighters. Jack Thornton, with his unwavering resolve, coordinated the colony's last line of defense. Sarah's voice crackled over the comms. "Jack, we've got a problem. The gun's cooling system is failing. If we push it any further, it might overheat and shut down." Jack gritted his teeth. "We don't have a choice. We need that gun operational. Dr. Patel, can you rig a temporary fix?" Dr. Patel, buried in his terminal, replied, "I'll see what I can do. It'll be risky, but we don't have any other options." While Patel and Sarah worked frantically to stabilize the gun, Jack focused on the ground battle. Mike and his Marines were engaged in brutal combat with the Drakthar troops. The enemy was relentless, their advanced weaponry cutting through human defenses with alarming precision. Jack joined the front lines, rallying his troops. "Hold the line. We can't let them breach the command center." His presence boosted morale, and the Marines redoubled their efforts. Despite the chaos, Jack's leadership kept them fighting as a cohesive unit. A sudden explosion erupted nearby, sending debris flying. Jack shielded his eyes and saw the cause: a Drakthar demolitions team attempting to create a breach. He sprinted toward the threat, firing his rifle and shouting orders. "Focus fire on those sappers. We can't let them through." The Marines responded with precision, targeting the enemy explosives experts. Amid the firefight, Jack found himself face-to-face with a Drakthar warrior. The alien's imposing figure towered over him, its eyes filled with malice. Jack dodged a swing from the alien's blade and countered with a series of well-placed shots. The Drakthar fell, its weapon clattering to the ground. Breathing heavily, Jack regrouped with his team. "We're holding, but barely. Sarah, Patel, I need that gun ready now." "We're almost there, Jack." Sarah's voice came back, strained but determined. "Just a few more minutes." Dr. Patel added, "I've managed to bypass the cooling system temporarily. It'll buy us some time, but it won't last long." Jack nodded, his mind racing. He needed a strategy to maximize their chances of survival. He turned to Mike, who was nearby, directing the Marines. "Mike, take a squad and reinforce the eastern barricade. We can't let them flank us." Mike saluted and led his men to the new position. Jack watched them go, his thoughts interrupted by another incoming transmission. "Commander Thornton, this is the civilian shelter. We're taking heavy fire. We need assistance." Jack's heart sank. The civilians were the colony's future, and he couldn't let them fall. "Hang in there. We're sending reinforcements," he replied. He quickly dispatched a unit to support the shelter, praying it would be enough. As the battle raged on, the giant gun finally powered up. Sarah's voice broke through the comms, filled with relief. "Jack, the gun's ready. We're targeting the supercarrier's core." "Fire when ready," Jack ordered. The gun unleashed a massive blast, its energy beam cutting through the battlefield and striking the supercarrier. The alien vessel shuddered, and secondary explosions rippled through its structure. Dr. Patel, monitoring the situation, exclaimed, "Direct hit. The core is destabilizing." Jack watched as the supercarrier began to disintegrate. "Keep firing. We need to finish it off." The gun fired again, and the supercarrier erupted in a final cataclysmic explosion. The remaining Drakthar forces faltered, their morale shattered by the loss of their flagship. Jack seized the moment. "All units, push forward. Drive them back." The Marines, invigorated by the sight of the destroyed supercarrier, surged forward. The Drakthar, now leaderless and disoriented, began to retreat. Jack coordinated the final assault, ensuring no enemy units were left behind to regroup. As the last of the Drakthar fled or were neutralized, a weary silence fell over the battlefield. Jack stood among his comrades, surveying the aftermath. The colony had held, but the cost was high. Buildings lay in ruins, and the ground was littered with the fallen. Sarah and Dr. Patel approached, their faces showing the strain of the battle. "We did it," Sarah said, her voice a mix of exhaustion and pride. Jack nodded. "We did. But we need to start rebuilding immediately." This isn't over yet. They'll be back, and we need to be ready. The aftermath of the supercarrier's destruction left New Britannia's sky filled with the remnants of battle, smoke curling upwards, mingling with the scorched landscape below. Jack Thornton, despite the victory, felt the weight of the losses keenly. He moved through the battered colony, assisting where he could and offering words of encouragement to the weary defenders. Sarah approached him, her face smeared with grime but her eyes bright with determination. Jack, we've stabilized the gun's cooling system. It should be functional for now, but we need to prepare for any potential counterattacks. Jack nodded. Good work, Sarah. We need to stay vigilant. The Drakthar might regroup and return. Dr. Patel joined them, his expression somber. I've been analyzing the data from the battle. The supercarrier's destruction was a significant blow, but we should expect retaliation. Their command structure is disrupted, but not defeated. As they strategized, a distress signal crackled through their comms. This is Outpost Delta. We are under heavy attack, requesting immediate assistance. Jack's brow furrowed. Outpost Delta is crucial for our supply lines. We can't lose it. He turned to Mike, who had just returned from reinforcing the eastern barricade. Mike, take a squad and head to Delta. We'll need to stabilize the situation there. Mike nodded, his face set in a grim determination. On it, Jack. We'll hold the outpost. While Mike and his squad prepared for deployment, Jack gathered the remaining defenders. We need to fortify our position here. The Drakthar will likely strike again. Sarah, work with the engineers to repair the primary defense grid. Dr. Patel, continue your analysis and keep us updated on any enemy movements. As the team dispersed to their tasks, Jack felt a sense of urgency pressing down on him. He moved to the command center, where he reviewed the colony's defenses and the status of their resources. Each decision weighed heavily, knowing the survival of New Britannia depended on their next actions. Hours later, Mike's voice came through the comms, strained but resolute. Jack, we've secured Outpost Delta. The Drakthar hit us hard, but we managed to push them back. We're reinforcing the perimeter now. Good job, Mike. Keep us posted on any further developments, Jack replied, relief evident in his tone. He turned to the task at hand, rallying his forces for the inevitable next wave. Just as they began to regroup, an alert sounded. Dr. Patel's voice was urgent. Jack, we've detected a massive energy signature approaching from the east. It's another Drakthar assault group, larger than the previous ones. Jack's heart sank. They were barely holding on, and now a more formidable threat was inbound. Everyone, prepare for incoming. This is going to be our toughest fight yet. As the Drakthar forces descended, the defenders of New Britannia braced themselves. The sky darkened with the sheer number of enemy ships, and the ground trembled with the approach of their heavy artillery. Jack took a deep breath, steeling himself for the battle ahead. The first wave hit hard. Drakthar drones swarmed the perimeter, their weapons blazing. Human defenders responded with fierce determination, their resolve hardened by the battles they had already endured. The giant gun fired repeatedly, each shot a desperate attempt to stem the tide. Amid the chaos, Jack directed his troops with precision, his voice calm and commanding. Focus fire on the lead ships. We need to break their formation. Sarah, working tirelessly at the gun's controls, managed to land several critical hits. Jack, we're making a dent, but they're relentless. Dr. Patel's updates came in rapid succession, detailing the enemy's tactics and potential weak points. Their flanks are vulnerable. If we can exploit that, we might turn the tide. Jack relayed the information to his frontline units. Shift your fire to their flanks. Hit them where it hurts. The defenders adjusted their strategy, and slowly, the tide began to shift. Drakthar ships faltered, their formations breaking under the concentrated fire. Jack saw an opportunity and seized it. Now, all units, push forward. Drive them back. With renewed vigor, the defenders surged ahead, their combined efforts overwhelming the Drakthar. The enemy began to retreat, their forces in disarray. Jack led the charge, ensuring no quarter was given until the Drakthar were completely driven from the battlefield. As the last of the enemy ships fled, a weary cheer rose from the defenders. They had survived, and more importantly, they had won. Jack stood amidst his comrades, a profound sense of accomplishment washing over him. Sarah approached, a tired smile on her face. "We did it, Jack. Against all odds, we held our ground." Jack nodded, his expression a mixture of relief and determination. "We did. But this isn't the end. We need to rebuild, reinforce, and prepare for whatever comes next. We've proven we can stand against the Drakthar, but we must be ready for anything."